Hi everyone, we're Team 8 and I'm Heather. Last week, we have witnessed the 2020 presidential election, the most participated and the most intense race of all times. A chart we chose to make over is the snake chart on election forecast by 538. This chart shows a candidate's lead in each of the 50 states. Red and blue colors represent support for two candidates, red for Trump and blue for Biden, with varying degrees of shades represent degrees of support. The use of color is a strength in this chart. The red and blue colors have been historically associated with the Republican and Democratic parties in US politics. It is intuitive to understand which candidate is being represented. Secondly, the chart is ordered from the reddest states at the top to bluest states at the bottom. We can see which states have the strongest support for candidates. Another strength of the chart. The number of electoral votes for each state is represented by the length of the segment. If you hover over, you can see forecasted vote shares for each state. The chart contains a lot of information. The number of electoral votes for each state is represented by the length of the segment. If you hover over, you can also see forecasted vote shares. The chart does contain a lot of information. However, this chart is not so effective because it fails to deliver the quantitative message at a glimpse. In a big picture, the first thing you notice is its shape of a long elongated line. Although it may be aesthetically pleasing, the snake shape does not convey any meaningful information. Secondly, geographic information contained in the chart is not meaningful. Wyoming has the strongest support for Trump, but where is it located on the map? We cannot know this information without looking at the map. Although we can see the shape of the state, it does not add any meaningful value. Third, how much is the actual margin of vote for each state? It is difficult to know without actually hovering over each state and calculating the vote difference by ourselves. If we look at Georgia, for example, there is only 0.9% point difference. On the other hand, District of Columbia has 86.1 percentage point difference between forecasted vote shares. It is hard to gauge the actual difference in one view. Last but not least, swing states. States that have the small difference in vote shares play a pivotal role in determining the election outcome. Yet this chart downplays the role of swing states by blending them in with the rest of the states. It is hard to tell what states are swing states and how many electoral votes are represented by those states. The swing states are in the middle in this chart. Now I will turn it over to Chiwi to present our makeover.
The solution we came up with to solve this problem is a hex map and also two stacked bar to show the aggregate information. So for the hex map, basically, we want to include in the geographic information, but we don't want to misleading by it. For example, like Alaska, it has a pretty significant size on the traditional map, but it has only 3 votes. So we really want to see those states by its weights in the election, like how important it is to this election, instead of how big it is on the map. And by doing a hex map, basically each hex represents for 1 electoral vote. So we can clearly see that how many electoral votes each state has, and also we can make direct comparison between the states to see which one is relatively more important in this election. Moreover, we'll still be able to include the kind of information that was included in the original chart, that we can clearly see which states tend to vote for which party. Like the red ones tend to voting for Republican, and the blue ones tend to vote for the Democrats. And by the shades, we can see like how strong that tendency is. And then we included two stacked bar to show the aggregate information. So for the first bar, we split it into Democrats and Republican. If a state has more than 50% vote for Democrats, it's included in the blue bar, and 50% more than 50% votes for Republicans included in the red bar. And for second bar, we'll include some bit more information, like to see which states have a similar level of vote for both party, which we call it a swing state. And actually, it plays a big role here because we can certainly see that how much proportion is taking in this bar. And besides that, we added a few filters to show the Republican states and the Democrat states, and also the swing states. So it also offers some like functionality that we can actually filter on the bars, that we can show all the states, that including the swing states, like which states are tend to vote for Democrats, and also which states are tend to vote for the Republican. And we can make a separation of the swing state. We can only see the swing states, only see ones that certainly voting for Democrats and the ones that certainly voting for the Republican. So now we have Plumie to introduce the last part of our transformation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chiyu. So for the final transformation, we really wanted to emphasize the difference between support for candidates in each state. If you look back at the original chart, it attempts to show this variation in popularity by ordering states based on which candidate had the leading popularity vote. So here you see states that are more likely to vote for Trump, represented by more intense shades of red, whereas states more likely to vote for Biden are represented by more intense shades of blue. The problem is that at a glance, you're not able to identify what the difference is in support unless you actually hover over each state. We transformed this idea by not only creating a dumbbell chart to show the difference in support, but also by showing this information in two separate charts, you're able to see a clear distinction in states where the Democratic Party is leading versus in states where the Republican Party is leading. So you're able to receive more information than the original chart since you're able to see the order of popularity and also how significant each lead is. For example, if you take a look at DC, you can immediately see how great the difference is in voters supporting Biden over Trump based on the length of the bar. And if you hover over the bar, the actual difference is displayed. Also, by hovering over each point, you're able to see which candidate, what state, and the percentage vote that candidate received in that state. So yeah, that's it. We hope this transformation allowed you to get a better understanding of what the original chart intended in showing the election forecast. And thank you to everyone that voted. It's very important to exercise your right and feel represented by your government. So thank you. And I hope you guys enjoyed our presentation.